Milo, do you think we are changing the world with what we're doing in the Web3 space, or the music industry at least?
Absolutely. I think the world has already changed. Like we're going in that direction. It's just that we're doing it in a way that is not disruptive. We're trying to get everyone to understand that we're not pirates here. We're not doing something. We're not like pillaging the music industry. We're kind of just redistributing.
I would disagree. GM, welcome to GM Good Music, the podcast where we explore the future of music and the artists paving the way. I'm your host, Josh Savage, and today we're joined by Nifty Sax, aka Milo Lombardi, a trailblazer in the music NFT realm and the founder of Nifty Music. From his roots near Bologna, Italy, to the digital frontiers of music, he has been a mentor to many in the space, including myself. And today we dive into his journey and the innovations he's bringing to the world of music. Nifty Sax, GM, it's great to have you here. How's it going? And where in the world are you speaking from today?
Hey, GM, good to see you, Josh. I'm in Italy. I am close to Fano right now. That's close to my hometown. I moved back here a couple of years ago. I feel good.
That's right. It's fascinating. It's actually amazing having this conversation with you here, because this takes me back to almost 2 years ago when we had our first call, and you basically showed me the way into Web3. But we'll delve into that later. But first of all, can you tell me a bit more about where it began for you from your small town in Italy, and how you got into music as a whole?
Well, yeah, with music for me, it's been kind of like a lifetime affair. Like my parents are really into music. They're not professionals, but they are, well, in the true definition of an amateur. Like they really love, that's what an amateur means. Like they love music and they love to make music, and that's how they met. They met in a choir. They used to sing. I mean, they still sing in the choir, and like they.
All right.
They sing in a choir for operas. So they were really into operas, and I was brought up listening to operas all the time with them, practicing and whatnot. So yeah, they encouraged me to do music from a very early age. I was studying piano. And then I found the saxophone when I was like 10 or 11, and then I started to do music more seriously by then already. So I entered the Conservatory of Music when I was 11 with saxophone, and yeah, basically I never stopped, and I was just too curious to see what would happen if I didn't stop, and so I didn't. So then after the conservatory, I was 19 when I finished. Basically, I found myself with a degree, because the conservatory is kind of like a university. So 1 year after high school, I already was graduated from university. And so I had some other thoughts. Maybe, I don't know, I was going to go do psychology or architecture or whatever. But then I had so much, I had done so many things already with music that it felt weird to go and do another university. So I just continued, basically. And I went to Australia for a while. I lived there for a year. And then I moved to Berlin. Oh, I lived in Sydney.
Where in Australia?
When? It must have been 2008 or something like that. 2007, okay. 2008. I was just 19, 20 years old. So it must have been, the end of 2007 and until the end of 2008, something like that. I was literally just finished conservatory like in July 2007, and probably in October I was already in Australia, because I thought, whatever, whether I do another university or not, I'm just going to take a sabbatical and then I'll figure it out. But then in Australia, I realized even more that it was cool being a musician, and I wanted to do that, even though maybe it wasn't the most profitable profession. But I loved it. All the people that I've met in Sydney, I started by busking on the streets actually, and I've met a lot of musicians that way, and I found a lot of gigs. and I always had so much fun. I thought it was just like the best life ever. I was just like
Yeah.
playing a couple of nights a week, but I was making pretty good money. I guess, Australia also is, at least back then, I don't know now, but it was pretty good. Also even when busking, I was making quite a lot of money. And so, yeah, that really cemented my love for music. I realized that it was possible, even just by playing on the streets. I was able to make a living, and then I realized also, that I could meet so many people and like-minded individuals by doing that. So I came back to Europe and I started to do that in Berlin as well. Not with the same financial return to my disbelief, but I found out that in Sydney, for example, I was making like $250 a night. I was just playing a few hours, under a bridge. But in Berlin, it was not the same. You could make maybe like 30 euros an hour if you were good. But it was not the same. So I had to be a bit more serious here in Europe.
I was once told, Milo, by a stranger, when they found out I did music, you'll always be rich even when you have no money. Do you relate to that? Would you agree?
Yeah, I absolutely. I loved it. I mean, especially as a young kid. I think that was great that I started when I was that young, because it probably feels a little bit more strange when you're maybe already in your 30s or something. I'm sure it's possible, and especially if you have the passion of somebody that has just started out, I'm sure it's totally possible, and I recommend it to anyone if you want to do it. But as a 19-year-old kid, It was just the best, because first of all, like, I don't know, you don't get sick, you can drink, whatever, you have no problem, you can stay up all night. Issues. And also you're less, I would say you're less concerned about your well-being in general. So you experience things in a more pure way. So you don't, the experiences are not tainted with any worry or responsibility. It's just out there doing your thing, and it's awesome. And I did feel rich, like mostly what I remember fondly is all the people that I've met. So many people stop by. I don't know why, but so many people stop by and they just want to talk. And then if they happen to be musicians, especially probably because they realized that I had some training. I wasn't just some bum. And so they were curious, like, why are you playing on the street? Like, I don't know, I have a gig, I need a saxophone, why don't you come? So it was great. I really had the.
So tell me about your first days in Berlin. As a Berliner, would love to know your experience about it. And when was that, when you first moved to Berlin?
Berlin was in the golden days. I moved in Berlin in 2010, around October. And it was a really, really cold winter. It was minus 15 as soon as I arrived. There was like a meter of snow. It was really... I was taken aback.
It's rare to have snow here.
Yeah, now it's rare, but back then it was happening more. It seems like I don't know, the global warming is actually happening, because it was incredibly cold, or it could have been that it was just a really cold year. I don't know, but I had never experienced something like that. There was so much snow and it was so cold. I never even knew what that was like when you go out and it feels like your fingers are falling off or something. And so. Yeah, that was tough, but it was the golden age. Like it was already towards the end. If you talk to people that went to Berlin like in the 90s, of course, it was already over. But if you talk to people now, then 2010 was still awesome. Everything was super cheap. You could buy a house. Like if only I'd known, if I had money also, I would have bought a few apartments, because now they cost 3 or 4 times as much. But it's not only that. Like you could just get anything for cheap, and so many artists were there. So my experience was that everybody that I met on the street had a smile on their face because they were doing what they loved, and that's such a big difference, compared to any other regular city where people just do their job. Even in Italy, yeah.
Even in winter,
and
even in winter,
even in
Berlin. Because Berlin winter, as you know, is real. it's a real thing.
Berlin winter was tough, but I think I don't know. It didn't affect the vibe because as soon as, of course, you don't meet anybody on the street, but as soon as if you go, like, I don't know, to some club or bar or whatever, like, mostly the best probably are VG parties, like parties inside other people's apartments. Yeah, I don't know. Everybody was so happy. Again, it could be that I was young, right? maybe I was just really young and saw the world with rose-colored glasses. But my experience was that everybody I met did something really cool and something unexpected, something that you wouldn't think you could make a living from. And the thing is that you could make a living from that in Berlin because you only needed a few €100 to survive every month. Like I was paying for my apartment. I had my own apartment because I didn't like living with other people. I was paying €350 for the whole apartment. It was really nice.
No way.
So yeah, so you could have a room for 150, and yeah, food, everything else was like super cheap. So it was you could just try something, like even if it didn't work out, like I'm sure you could find a way to make like €300 a month, and you could live from that. It was awesome. So you can imagine that attracts a lot of weird people. So that was my experience. I thought, I found Mecca. This is my city. I have to be here.
And would you say it's still a good place for music?
Well, yeah. The at least for jazz, that's my scene. The jazz scene is incredibly high level, and there's a lot of great players. So it keeps you on your toes. It keeps you practicing. So I would say that's good. But if you want to experiment more, I think it's better to go to a cheaper city at this point. Something like, I don't know, Krakow, maybe in Poland, is becoming kind of hip. Because I think that the biggest difference when you can experiment is that you will experiment. If you have room, then it's like, well, whatever, let me try this. Let's see if it works. Otherwise, if you have to make ends meet, if you have to, you have to survive, and everything is so difficult, you're going to end up doing what works, and you're not going to try stuff that might not work. And that's a problem, if you want to be an artist.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the reason why I moved to Berlin from London, because just the rent was just stupid in London. I mean, I was living in a warehouse of 14 people in a shitty neighborhood of London for the equivalent of my own flat in the center of Berlin. And from your perspective, that's the expensive version of Berlin as well, which really says a lot as well. But it's funny, I was in Istanbul recently as well, and people were saying Istanbul is becoming the next Berlin as well. A lot of cities say they're the next Berlin, but Istanbul does seem to be a cool scene artistically as well. So maybe. And so tell me a bit more about your musical journey. So when you picked up the sax, when did you start getting inspired by jazz music and what really? I mean, I guess you were doing classical music in the beginning on the piano, and then what kind of got you over to the jazz side of things?
Yeah, well, I studied classical music also with the saxophone because back then, actually, at the conservatory, there was no jazz course. Like, it was not a thing yet. Now you can study jazz at the conservatory, but back then it wasn't even an option. Like sometimes people are so snob. some of the teachers, if you mention jazz, they were like, oh, jazz? No, what the hell? Like, here we do serious music, Which probably, they were probably just envious of the fact that they couldn't play jazz. That's why, like bitter old musicians that could not improvise, even if, it would save their lives. So yeah, but my teacher was cool, luckily. So he actually loved jazz. And so yeah, when you study saxophone, of course, you will hear a lot of jazz. Like, there's really not that much literature on the saxophone. The saxophone was invented like towards the end of the 18th century, or what is it, 19th century? Like 1850, that's when it was invented, pretty much. So it's a very new instrument. And there's not much stuff to play in the classical world. There are a lot of like transcriptions and other things like that, but things that are written for the saxophone, not that many. So you will listen to a lot of jazz, and eventually you will probably find some other players that you fall in love with. Like you like for myself, like for me, it wasn't even, I don't know, like I never considered the option of just playing classical. I just never did. And I got exposed to the saxophone through some of my father's records, because he had some Coltrane records at home, some vinyls, and or even CDs or whatever it was. They were. I remember that I was putting these CDs on or vinyls when they left the house, because I thought it was like some sort of forbidden music because it sounded so weird. And that, of course, inspired me. Like as a somewhat of a contrarian kid, I thought, oh, this is, I gotta I gotta find out about this, because it really, it felt wrong. It felt like I shouldn't be listening to this. And so yeah, that was like Coltrane. That was my first. I was baptized by fire. I think the album was Giant Steps. So that was like a really crazy record. Like the first track, I think, is Countdown. It starts with a million notes. And yeah, then after that, this went on for a few years. I was just a very, very small child. I didn't even pick up the saxophone yet. This was just in the back of my mind. I was playing saxophone. I was playing piano back then, and secretly listening to these crazy records. But then when I was a little bit older, when I was just like a teenager, maybe like, I don't know, 13 or 14, something like that, there was a library in my city that allowed you to borrow CDs. And so I started to ask for some CDs, and I said, I don't know what I like jazz, I like this and that. And so they just gave me some CDs, and one of them especially really changed my life completely. It was Kind of Blue by Miles Davis. That was really something that really changed everything, because I realized, oh, this jazz thing can also be cool and relaxed. And so that fit also more into my, I don't know, my style, especially as
it wasn't
kid.
Cool before?
It was cool, but it was, I don't know, it felt somewhat forbidden, and really like something that you could never achieve. Like it's something impossible for some reason, just because it was so complicated. But Kind of Blue is this quality of making very, very complicated jazz into something so easy to listen to. And so I realized that was possible, and you could approach it that way too. And so that actually propelled me to study further. I mean, I don't know, there are some, I don't know if it's the same for you, but I have some, even to this day, there are some players that when I listen to them, I want to quit. I really just, it makes me think, okay, I'm not cut out for this. But others,
why? 'Cause
they
they're
really
so
inspire
good.
me. And yeah, but the thing is that these players, they're all equally good. It's just that what I think happens is that some of these players are more tuned to your soul. Like it really feels like, oh, I could do this if I practice. I could actually do this. Some of them, and some others, they're just so different that it feels like I cannot do that. I just can't. That's not me. So it makes you want to quit. And yeah, for me, Kind of Blue was one of those that really made me think, oh, I can do this. If I study, I can do this. And yeah, there are plenty of players like that. Today, Joshua Redman is one player that inspires me like that. When I listen to Joshua Redman, I feel like I can do everything. When I listen to Michael Brecker, I feel like I want to quit. That's how it is. But yeah, anyway, it's just saxophone nerd stuff.
Is that like a perfectionist thing, Milo?
Yeah, it could be.
It could be. Okay. A standard curse for musicians.
Yeah, I think jazz, I mean, you never finish studying jazz, so you might as well find people that inspire you to keep studying. Because really, otherwise you just dig yourself into a hole, and it just feels like an impossible task. And I don't know, it could be that some players just have a gift to inspire, or it just could be that, some people inspire different people. That's probably more likely. I think that's what it is. It just resonates with their soul.
Interesting, because I find with song recording, especially, it never feels finished for me. But I fully accept that that's like a time capsule at the best of my ability in that given moment, and you just got to move on eventually. Otherwise, you drive yourself insane.
Yeah.
How in the jazz side of things would you say it's unfinished in that way?
Well, I would say,
Does that
like,
make sense?
in terms of your skills and your knowledge, because jazz is so vast. It's basically like math, and it's endless. Like there's an endless perfection to what you can create. And so in that sense, I would say it's never finished. Your quest for knowledge of jazz, like you could never walk up
I
to
see.
like the top jazz player and they would say, oh, I'm done, I figured out jazz, and I'm not studying anymore. Any player that is at the top of the world, they would tell they're still practicing because they still got things to do, and that's the thing. You never run out. You always find something else. It's kind of like I don't know, like the universe. The more like you explore, the more there is to explore.
How are you studying jazz today, Milo?
When you get to a certain point, you have some routines that you feel comfortable with, and so I do that.
So what's your
But
routine?
sometimes, well, my
What's
routine
your
is just
standard routine, as best as you can describe it? Of course, everything's different on a regular basis as a musician, but
yeah. Well, it does change over time. That's what I was about to say. Like sometimes it might feel stagnant, and so you need to change the whole routine. Right now, I'm in one of those periods where I'm kind of trying to explore different paths, especially. I mean, my routine, I can say what it was at least and what it is now. I used to just study, tone a lot. That's very important for saxophone players. Just, long notes. Any saxophone player will tell you that's essential. Just have a good sound. And so you just sit there and play long notes. It's very boring. It's nothing, fancy. You just sit there and play long notes throughout the whole range in different, like play them super loud, play them super soft, play them with different attacks. There's like a million exercises you can do with long notes. You could just do that and you'll be fine. But then there's also, finger movements. So you just would practice all kinds of scales and arpeggios. Like in all different keys and all different tempos and styles. So I do that. I still do that. That's probably something that everybody that plays saxophone still does every once in a while, probably every day a little bit. And then there are the more specific things that you want to do. Like, for example, if you want to develop like altissimo range, meaning notes that are outside of the regular saxophone range or what the saxophone is capable of. So when you go off into space and you go higher and higher, that's also something very challenging. Every saxophone player wants to play notes that are higher than what is possible, because the thing is that it is possible. Like they're not meant to be played. There are no keys for it, but you can get there with certain techniques, with your throat, with your larynx, and then with your diaphragm, and certain fingerings. So I do that a lot, and then there's transcription. Studying other people's solos, learning them by ear, and becoming really good at picking up other people's vibes, especially if there are saxophone players that really, or any other jazz player, any other improviser that really inspire you. Then you can try to pick up how do they approach this. Like let me go there into the solo and figure out a certain licks there, and then you play the chords on the piano and you figure out what the hell there is going on there. What are they doing? What are they thinking mostly? Like, how did they get to play this note? And you just figure that out, and then of course you play with other people. You can't just play by yourself. That would be bad. So one of the things that I try to do is to practice with someone else, once a week if I can. That's basically what I still do. But last
That's
year,
amazing, Milo. And yeah, sorry,
yeah.
carry on.
I know, no, I was saying last year, like a lot has changed because when I did my project Spheres, I don't know, I just had a bit of an awakening. Like I realized I was a little bit stuck in some routines, and I was just down the jazz path, and I was basically like on a train, just on train tracks, just going blindly. And so yeah, thanks to that project that is much more chill, I was able to get out of the train tracks and figure some things out. And so yeah, now I'm in this rediscovery, and it feels very exciting. Because yeah, I realized
Awesome.
I was just becoming like everybody else basically, and that was boring to me. I was just like I couldn't take it anymore. I didn't see any point in doing that.
Well, let's definitely get into spheres after we learn a bit more about your first steps in Web3. Before we do that, I would love to ask, well, for me as a musician, one of my biggest challenges is actually still making sure I dedicate time to the music, because as you know, you got to think about how you're going to pay bills, and so much gets in the way. How do you make sure that you dedicate time to your craft? And what's your best advice for that?
That's a tough one. I would say the best advice that I have is to make sure that part of your craft also makes some money. And so you basically can practice while you're getting paid for it. And for me, that was doing corporate events. I was getting paid
Right.
for practicing when I did corporate events. That was like the best thing ever. Every time I had an event like that, like, where like for some company, whatever, they don't care. They just, you're just there to be part of the furniture, like just make some noise. Nobody's really listening. So that's the best time to practice. And I think is that you're practicing in front of people because somebody will listen. And so that makes a difference. And that really, really makes you grow as a performer. I'm not saying that everybody has to do that. Some people just want to be producers and whatever. They don't need to learn how to perform. But if you want to be a performer, I would say that's the best thing ever. If you can get paid to perform. So for me, it meant not being too fussy about the gigs that I got. Because yeah, you can wait for the best gig ever, like in the jazz club, but maybe that comes
Great advice.
twice a year. That's not enough. So yeah, for me, it was doing that. Weddings, corporate events, any kind of stuff that would take me, I would do it. Especially if it was something uncomfortable, because that I saw that as a great opportunity to learn something new. Maybe somebody asked me, "Hey, can you, I don't know, can you play the organ at the church?" I was like, I don't know, I'm not an organ player, but I guess I could give it a go, and stuff like that. Just accept any kind of gig as long as you can actually do it professionally. Then I think that was great for me. It was a great gym to get better.
No, fantastic outfit there. And I think saying yes to everything, especially in your early days, is part of the process, is part of the initiation, almost like an internship for yourself. And were you doing a lot of unpaid gigs as well in the beginning?
Unpaid gigs are fine, like basically based on tip, right? Tip-based gigs. I think that's fine as long as you're not doing those instead of something that pays you like $300, €300, like because sometimes you can get stuck also in that circle of unpaid gigs. That's not very nice. You're kind of doing a disservice to everybody else if you take too many of those gigs. I think it's fine if you have like a bar down the street where you live that you can play at every week, whatever, that's fine. But if you're like traveling like an hour to go play an unpaid gig, I think you're doing a disservice to yourself and to everybody else around you. So yeah, I was doing that, but only when it was extremely convenient. Either I knew the club owner, they were a friend, or maybe it was something down the street that I could just walk, and it was basically just a practicing session for me. Then in that case, it was fine. But I think taking those unpaid gigs in a cool place just because the place is cool and you want to be playing there, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of those. I had really strong feelings about that some years ago. I thought, we would need some sort of union, that nobody should be playing for free, that there was like a big problem. But of course, I mean, now things are already out of hand. There's no way to rein it back in. And especially in a big city like Berlin with so many musicians, there's so much offer. So why would somebody pay for music? They would say, oh, whatever, I just get the next guy. So it's sad, but that's how it is. I guess you got to make the best.
Milo, I would disagree with that. I think something that Germany are really good at is standing up for themselves and not being so good with playing for free. It's definitely an issue I faced in London. Like, you were lucky to get a free drink even playing shows in London. However, I'm still grateful for my time in London as a musician, because the competition was so high. It taught me so much. However, I was doing 2 to 3 part-time jobs, and I didn't end up doing that much music there after all, but I wouldn't take it back for the world. But actually, no, in Berlin, they're a bit more, they stand up for themselves a bit more, which is great. But also that
nice.
Could be something we look at in the Web3 space as well, Milo, like having a union for musicians so that the general music NFT floor doesn't get too low. Let's delve into that a bit later. Why don't you walk us through about your first steps into Web3, what inspired you into the crypto space and eventually NFTs?
Yeah, there was the pandemic. That's what happened, and I was out of a job because, as I said, I based my income on live music, and so when that went away, I was like completely screwed. I had nothing. I just had a few teaching gigs, but those were so few because I never really liked teaching so much. I think it's best. Teaching it should be done if you really love it. I really strongly believe that you shouldn't teach if you don't love to teach. If you do it just because you need money, that's sad. That's sad for you and the students. So I try to do it least as possible, and only if I liked the student, like meaning they were really into it, and like they really wanted to learn something from me. Then I said, okay, let's go. Of course, that's the best student ever. Everybody wants that student. Nobody wants to teach somebody that doesn't want to learn. But at least if you have the passion to teach, I think you can give them the passion. I don't have the passion to teach, so I need people that already have passion. Then I'm happy to teach them. But anyway, so I had very few teaching gigs because of that. And so I was basically at zero income, almost zero. And I had a lot of time on my hands. And so I looked into many things. At first, I was trying to do maybe some library music. I looked into like, I composed a few things here and there. I thought maybe I could sell music for advertising. And that was cool. I thought there was a nice experience. But I also realized, I'm just starting out in a big world of people that have been doing it for a long time, and I don't even know if I like it that much. So I looked into other things, and when I saw that people were selling visual arts on the blockchain, because I was following a little bit from the sidelines, this was around December 2020, when already the pandemic had been going for a little while, and I saw that I think some CryptoPunks were starting to sell for decent amounts of money. It was like insane amounts for the time. It was like $40,000, and everybody thought, these people are crazy. And of course, I didn't know that that things were going to escalate to millions of dollars. But back then, it was insane to pay like $50,000 for a little figurine on the internet. That's really what got me curious when I saw the outrage. A lot of people so pissed, like, oh, why are these people spending so much money? That got me so curious. And again, I just maybe the contrarian nature in me or something. I just thought that there must be a reason why people are buying this stuff for so much money. And I don't know. I was tickled by the fact that that people were so pissed. I thought that's fun. Let me explore that. And so, yeah, I looked into it, and I realized that pretty much nobody was selling music. And I thought maybe I can try selling music. Like there's there's an opening there. Like, it could probably not work, but I'll give it a try. And I saw there was a big project that released around that time. There was what was it called? I don't remember the name. Like, it was one of the biggest music NFTs, generative Euler Beats. That's what it was called. There was like generative music, completely made from some mathematical formulas. It was like really cool, but definitely not human music. And so I thought, yeah, I'm gonna make some human music and sell it on the internet, on the blockchain. And I thought that what was necessary to sell on the blockchain was to make generative music, because again, these Euler beats were selling for insane amounts of money. I thought, well, I guess that's what it takes to sell stuff on a blockchain. You got to add some sort of generative aspect to it. And so I tried to make that fit into what I do, because I like it when I have a small box to work with, and I try to work from just that. So I gave myself that box. I said, okay, how do you make generative music? Because there's no way that I'm coming up with some mathematical formulas to make music. That's not me.
Right.
But I thought I have a lot of musical training in me. I've studied music now at that point for, I don't know, like 25 years or something. So I thought, okay, let me see if my brain has some sort of algorithm that can generate music when I completely relinquish control and, start to record like that. So my plan was get really high and record and see what happens. And I did that. And I did that in a very methodical way. I was very, very scientific about it. Every time I prepared myself, I had the right setting, environment and everything. And I set up everything to record. And I knew that I wanted to do 100 pieces. I just had this number in my mind and I said, fuck it, I'm going to do that. And so, yeah, I did that. Every day I recorded like, I don't know, 10 or 15 pieces. I just set my recording space, got really high, and started to record. And I didn't edit anything. I just said to myself, this is going to be pure, unadulterated saxiness. And
awesome.
So yeah, I did that. And that was Nifty Sax Genesis. It was 100 pieces, and I released one of those every day. Not very successfully, because nobody knew me. I started a brand new Twitter account with 0 followers, but yeah, that's how it started. And I still love that. It's so raw. Like when I listen to those recordings, I almost get embarrassed, because I feel like they're so revealing. Like there's so much of me in those recordings. Really, it's it's scary.
But that's what makes them beautiful.
Yeah, in their own way. Yeah, they're definitely not for everyone. They're very kind of avant-garde-ish, if you if you want to find a genre for them. Some of them are very chill, but a lot of them are also very disjointed. There's a lot of, like, if you were to analyze them, you would find, I don't know, some crazy time signature and a lot of key changes and dissonant things. So it sounds probably pretty difficult to listen to, but yeah, interesting nonetheless.
How did you learn the tech side of things? I mean, that's the biggest barrier for a lot of musicians who are often, they don't want anything to do with tech. Like, they struggle enough with social media. How on earth did you puzzle the blockchain and figure out how to release it, who to release it with, all of that malarkey? How did you figure that out?
Yeah, I would say I'm a bit of a nerd for this kind of stuff. So
right, but that's the thing. No one had really done it before, if not very few. How if, as a nerd, how did you kind of figure out how to do it, and what would be your best advice for new artists looking to get into the space?
Yeah, well, I mean, right now is so much easier. Like, you can just listen to this podcast or many other podcasts, or go to Twitter Spaces. So right now, I think it wouldn't even apply if I had some advice for me back then. But for, like, I always liked kind of like the DIY things. Like I was building. I remember I wrote my website in HTML by hand. Like I there were programs to actually do it with a program, but I wrote every single letter and symbol by hand. because I thought it was cool. Like that was like my first website. I don't even know when I was like in high school. So I thought that was just fun. And
How did you learn
I'm
that?
definitely not a programmer, but I thought it was fun to learn. And so yeah, I learned
but
as
how
much
did
as
you
possible
learn?
with the blockchain. I don't even remember
No, the HTML stuff.
Oh, HTML. Oh, there were some guides online, that they would teach you,
Okay.
like what certain strings of code do. And the good thing about about that, that process of HTML is that you could write something and then see if it works right away. So I thought that was fun. You could literally think of some things like, oh, I want to create a box and let me see if I can figure that out. And like you just will it into existence with certain different parts of code. I mean, now of course I'm sure things are very different, and I'm definitely not a web developer, but I thought it was just a fun project for me to learn that. And there was so much material actually to learn back then. For the blockchain, it was much less. It was more because it was much more new, and so there wasn't that much to learn, to be honest. I just just some security things, how to get a wallet, and how to stay safe, and how to buy your first cryptocurrency and then transfer it to your wallet, and all these little things. I probably found some guides online to help me with that. I don't remember any specific resource that I can cite. I was just looking around everywhere, listening a lot. If anybody had some knowledge, and yeah, I thought it would be a good idea to actually do this for other people as well. That's when I thought, oh, this is not only a great opportunity for me as an artist. Like I can actually start a business here because it's like a new internet here. Like I've never had this opportunity. And I thought, I have to take this. There's no way, like, it felt so weird to be one of the few people that were doing this, like, for the first time in my life. Usually our generation, I'm a millennial, I was born in 1988. Anything you can think of has been done before. Anything you want to do, there's already thousands of other people doing it. But here, for the first time, there were very, very few people. So I thought, this is so cool. I have to absolutely take this. This is a wave that is coming right now, and I gotta get on that surfboard, and I gotta get to the shore.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I got together with a friend of mine who was a developer, and I thought, hey, can we do a platform for music NFTs? Because every other platform was for art. There was Foundation. Maybe back then there wasn't even Foundation. It was just a few. There was like Super Rare and a few others.
This is Wazy we're speaking
this
about.
This is actually before. This is before Wazy.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Wazy, I met in a space already when I was a bit more experienced. This was a friend that we were just friends in Berlin, and so yeah, I just asked, hey, like I'm doing this thing. Are you interested? And she said, yeah, let's try. And so, yeah, we started this sort of startup called Legato back then, and yeah, it was meant to be a music NFT marketplace, some place where you could go and sell your music as a collectible asset, a collectible item on the blockchain. And we had a lot of ideas on how this would disrupt the current music industry and many other things like that. And then as we evolved, then we realized it wasn't necessarily about, disrupting the music industry. It was more about, like actually welcoming the music industry into Web3. That's probably a better approach than going in with hand grenades and just gun blazing. Let's break it all down. That's probably not the best approach. But that's what I had in mind. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna change the world. But yeah, I little by little I realized that it was better to stick to the fundamentals of what actually would help musicians right away in the first place. And what would help them was to to help them find an audience and to sell their music, because right now nobody buys music. I mean, you could sell it on Bandcamp maybe, but that's so rare anyway. But on the blockchain, there was an audience.
Well, Bandcamp is going through some changes now.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Do you think, Milo, do you think we are changing the world with what we're doing in the Web3 space, or the music industry at least?
Absolutely. I think the world is already changed. Like we're going in that direction. It's just that we're doing it in a way that is not disruptive. We're trying to get everyone to understand that we're not pirates here. We're not doing something. We're not like pillaging the music industry. We're kind of just redistributing maybe a little bit.
I would disagree though, Milo, because if you look at the history of music, for example, how radio came about, radio ended up being a pirate thing. Like a lot of radio stations were illegal, and a lot of radio stations would have to happen on a boat so that they couldn't get caught or something like that. I think that's how a lot of these popular stations in the UK ended up coming about. And if you look at the punk scene, that was a huge disruption to the popular music scene as it is. So I think you have to disrupt it. It has to be controversial in the beginning before it's adopted and accepted, and it initially comes from young people and from, I guess, rebelling from the status quo at the time, and this is certainly the case with Web3, which is so controversial. But I completely agree with you that it has to be encompassing and especially palatable in many forms, especially for artists. But it's generally just artists who kind of set the trend.
That's why we have the crypto punks, like we had that phase, but then eventually, like with radio and everything, eventually regulation comes to make things a bit more, stable, basically, because you can't just have anarchy at all times. Like it's just unsustainable. And we had that in the beginning of crypto. I mean, even before my time, like there was this kind of pirate aspect to cryptocurrency and everything. So I remember people even asking me, like when I was telling them that I could help them to sell their art, they would even ask me, "Is that legal?" I was like, "Dude, like we're not like." But back then, that was the feeling around cryptocurrency, like, oh, it's something illegal. But because it was disruptive initially, like there was a lot of, disrupt this,
and what did you say?
Government and this and that. I said, no, it's not illegal. You just said something on, I mean, of course, pay your taxes, but other than that, it's not illegal. Yeah. I could not convince, if people are scared, I could not convince them. I could just, show them, like, I'm not here to convince you. Like, I'm just doing it, and it works great for me. If you want to do it yourself, I can help you. Yeah. So I would lead people to the water, basically. I couldn't make them drink. And then, people that wanted to drink, they would drink. And, and I think like now we are already past that. Now we are towards that somewhat more regulated phase, because there were so many scams that hurt the reputation of crypto and NFTs, and we want to get away from that. We don't want to be associated with scams, because before there was probably 80% scams and 20% good projects and good things. That's definitely not sustainable. I think now things are a bit more stable. I would say 50-50 maybe. Not yet completely in the favor of good projects, but much better than a couple of years ago.
Yeah, we're literally on the cusp of regulation and all these big firms jumping in, BlackRock and all of that. So tell us about how Legato eventually evolved to become Nifty Music.
So my friend was already employed by in another company, and like it was quite a difficult choice to quit her job. And actually we did manage to I wouldn't say secure funding, but we got to the last step where we just had to sign and say, yes, we want this $500,000. So basically, she could have quit her job, but I don't know. There were just too many differences. I don't think, I think she was just tired of her job. I mean, I don't want to speak for her or whatever, but I don't know if she was really into the blockchain. It was just kind of like a way to change things for her. And so basically creative differences.
She didn't want to be a pirate.
Maybe. Yeah, at that time I had met Robin, and we did a project together, who's now my current co-founder. And we all together, like I brought this new, I brought Robin also to the meetings with this potential investor that we were talking to. And then together with Robin, we decided to decline the offer, because we were at a point where we could have done it by ourselves. And to be honest, it wasn't such a good deal for us. And I'm not gonna get into the terms of the deal. It was not good. We didn't like it. And so we just said, okay, we decline. I mean, the way that we declined, it was just we just asked for things that we knew they were not gonna give us. And so we were able to basically get away with not doing the deal. We rebranded as Nifty Music, and decided to start from, since we didn't have an investor at that point anymore, we decided to start from the only thing that would make the most money and that was less scalable, which was the agency part, where we help other musicians to create a project. Because then we had many other ideas, like Nifty Music was to be like with the investor was supposed to be like a marketplace. We even had plans for an office in Berlin where we'd host events and then mint them and, like release them on the blockchain. And then, so many other smaller, so many other things that would scale better, like also like the academy, which we are doing now, like our education program. But we decided, okay, that's not possible without the whole team of developers. This company that was investing in us, they have like a whole team of 12 developers. So we couldn't do all of what they could do, and so we did what we could do, and that was what we did with you and with Violetta and with Ray. And it was awesome. It was beautiful. Of course, it's not scalable, and we will continue doing this on a very small scale. But I think that had the biggest impact because, first of all, that actually was able to generate some revenue for the company, and in the process to, change an artist's life. Like you just change their trajectory, and I think that's awesome. It might be kind of a hippie. Maybe if I was a corporate asshole, I would say, oh, I did a wrong decision. But I think that's super cool.
You and Robin gave my music career back when I thought it was over, and allowed me to fully focus full time on music. Yeah, and I'll always be very grateful to you for that. And that allowed me to like play some of the big gigs that I played. Which of course, some of them were investments on my part. And the fact is I had money to invest thanks to you showing me the way in Web3. So thank you.
Cool.
Of course.
No, that's what it's all about. That was awesome. I'm super happy about that.
Tell us about what's going on with Nifty Music now and what you're excited about and what kind of artists are you collaborating with now, and how can also people be a part of that as well?
Yeah, so now last year it was what we call a bear market in crypto, meaning that there is less excitement around crypto. There are less people coming in every day, less retail investors. When your grandma asks you about crypto, that's a bull market. When you are considered the weird, crazy guy because you're doing crypto, that's the bear market. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
So right now we are in that phase. Like, oh, you're doing crypto? That's weird. So that's the bear market where people's feelings towards crypto is like, again, this pirate thing. You're a weird pirate.
How many cycles have you enjoyed?
Bear markets?
Yeah.
Oh, this is the first one.
This is your first one as well?
This is
Wow.
the first one. I was not invested in crypto before I started with NFTs. So I started, like many other people, with the previous bull market. I was watching crypto, but I didn't invest because I never had money to invest. I'm not a guy that spends money to buy crypto or any other investment. I never, because I was broke. I was just an artist. I was making some money, but definitely not enough to waste on some investment that could potentially go to zero. Like it's not for me. I never bought stocks or any other thing like that because I didn't have that kind of money. So the only way that I wanted to make crypto is that if I could sell my music, then I would do that. I'm not going to spend my money. So I never bought crypto until I needed some crypto for gas. And then since then, I never bought crypto anymore. I only bought those, I don't know, whatever few $100s that I needed for gas transactions at the time. And then I just tried to accumulate as much as possible because I do strongly believe in crypto as an asset for the long term.
Why?
But well, because there's a need for it. It's first of all, it makes sense as a currency in the future, like in general. Like it just makes sense when something is traceable, and not just by a big company. It's traceable by everybody. That's one thing. Like you don't know exactly how Visa works. Only Visa knows how Visa works. That's probably not the best thing. It's probably better if things are transparent. Of course, transparency is something that is very scary for a lot of people. Even the individual that it benefits, it's scary to them too. Like, oh, I don't know, like you're gonna know how much money I have. That's scary. But I think it's good. There's so much there's so much going on under the table with money that I don't think it hurts to have transparency. It would be extremely weird, and of course it would take a lot of adjustment. When people can go into your bank account, let's say, and see how much money you have, it's going to create some problems. It's weird, but I do think that it will also solve many other problems. So right now we are in that phase to figure out how to do this properly. I mean, there's so many benefits of crypto, and I'm not the best guy to talk about it because, again, I'm not a big investor. So I'm not one to like buy a whole bunch of Bitcoin because it's going to make me a millionaire. That's not me. I just think that crypto as a thing is useful. And Ethereum, there are so many things built on Ethereum. I think it's pretty safe. But again, I wouldn't, I wouldn't recommend people to just buy crypto just like that because I'm not a financial advisor and I know nothing. I just know what it's good for, and it's good for me. It's very good because it provides me with the possibility of having my music be a collectible asset. When before it was just a lame MP3 that it was copied all over the internet and it was all the same, and it's basically it makes it into something completely worthless when you publish something as an MP3. But if you publish something as a unique thing, then as long as this blockchain, as long as this method of retrieving this object is alive, then that thing will live forever, and it's a thing that is unique. So I like that. It's just that's what it's about for me as a musician. I just like that I have this opportunity, and it's really a shift in the way we think about digital things. Right now, most people don't want to think like that. They don't want to think that a digital object can have value because they're not used to it. But that's why I believe it in the long term. I think with time, then these assets will be very valuable, especially the first few that were created, in the first years of crypto when it was still like a pirate thing. So that's why I like it. It's just serves the purpose of selling my music, and I love that for it.
Yeah.
I don't know. What was I talking about?
As a music fan,
my train of thought.
About Nifty music, that's a huge sidetrack, but I just want to add, as a music fan, I love the traceability aspect where you can prove your fandom by having a digital portfolio of all the favorite art, all the artists that you love, and sharing that with people, and of course the exclusive perks that you can get from holding a music NFT. Back to Nifty Music, about what's happening there, what you're doing, and what you're building in this bear market, and your plans moving forward, and what you predict in the next wave as well.
Yeah. So right now, as I was saying, we since the bear market, we had to scale down our operations, kind of take it easy, because there's not there's not so much money to be made for us, and so we can run for just so much time until we need to also make some money for ourselves, and so. Right now, we are doing still the Nifty Music Academy, which we are restarting. We did last year one test run, which was really cool. We had 15 artists, and we taught them the same things that we taught you guys, you and Violetta and Ray, just in a group setting. So in a, it's a different way of learning. It's one-on-one is usually preferred, and you can do bigger things. But a class is also very cool because you can push each other. When you are with other students learning, then you're incentivized to do more. It's like, oh, my friend is doing this, maybe I'll do that as well. You can do projects together, and that was really cool. And so we thought we want to do more of that. And of course, this is also more scalable for us. We can actually help more people. We can teach more people at the same time, and help them through the process of starting from zero, from not knowing anything about the blockchain, to being an artist on the blockchain that is secure. They're not going to get scammed, and they know where to get their collectors. They know how to release their music. All of the good things that you need to know as an artist using the blockchain to release your music.
Can I just butt in, Nifty, and say why that's so important? And from my experience working with Nifty Music, it's like one of the most valuable things I had was just learning from your past mistakes. Sounds like, you mentioned this briefly with Genesis, how you didn't market it the right way, and something which was fantastic with Violetta, and Ray is like, we had the marketing or the strategy down to T, which is why we sold out every drop and led to the success of my love letters. And otherwise I probably would have done the same mistakes that you did and wouldn't have had the same momentum leading to the big drop. So and actually before we go into the floor drops, can you tell what would be your best advice for a new artist entering the space? What are the key things to learn? What are generally the best strategy to implement for a good start in the space?
Well, it all depends when you're coming in. So we're still, of course, very early with music on the blockchain. So right now you need to have that spirit of, doing something new, something that nobody else is doing, because you probably in your small circle, you'll be the only one. So you need to be ready for that. I would think most artists are, but you never know. Some people maybe don't want to do that. They want to feel more comfortable, and it will not be comfortable. So just get ready for that. That's for sure. No. And if you're coming in because you think that there's like some sort of a wonderland in crypto where you make money for nothing, that of course don't come in. Think again, because it's not like that. You have to put in an insane amount of work. I would say that right now you probably have to put in more work to succeed in Web3 than you to make the same amount of money in Web2. You probably could apply your skills and make more money in Web2 right now. But what you're doing is that you're building for the future. You're building a career that implements something that will be part of the future. So I think it's very important. Like, I don't know, like, for example, when MySpace was around, like you probably didn't make any money from MySpace, but if you actually were one of the first to do MySpace or YouTube, for example, you could definitely use that to your advantage to then switch to have a proper career. When you build an audience, then you can use that So that's why I would do it right now. You need to have that spirit of being early into something where maybe the returns are not insane right away. If you expect easy money, it's not going to happen. But it's so good. Like, imagine being one of the first to start on YouTube and keep going for a few years. When then YouTube becomes really big, you're gonna be in a really good position. So that would be my advice. Like, don't expect insane returns, and be ready to to be ridiculed and be ready to work hard for not much return. And then listen to a lot of people. Just go around. Now there's so many Twitter Spaces and whatever. Like, just listen to other people, to their experiences, but also don't listen too much. so do your own thing, and have some inspiration, because one of the problems with being early is that there are a lot of people that think that they know everything, because that's the normal process of learning something. It's like a curve that goes like this. The less you
I mean, that's like
know
the
about
music
something, the
industry
more
too.
Yeah, I know. That's kind of how it is. So I would say, yeah, like, listen, but with care, because I mean, don't do what people tell you to do, because that's probably wrong. so yeah, just learn as much
Well,
as
you got
possible.
to pick the right people.
Yeah,
You
I
got to pick
guess,
the
but
right people. Like,
nobody knows.
I had you telling
everything,
me what to do, and that went well.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know, but don't listen to me either. I would say, like, yeah, like, of course, if I am coaching you, like, I will probably tell you the things that I am sure of, because like, I'm getting paid for my time, so I'm gonna make sure that I will give you the best I have. But if you just listen to random people that like, just give you opinions that are for free, then I guess you get what you pay for. So be careful with that. Because there's a lot of misinformation out there. I would say that there's a lot of good stuff, but I see so much misinformation. It's scary. Like, when I go around listening, at least for the things that I know for sure. Like, I know that this is not right. How can you say that? And so I listen with care. That's what I would say.
So tell us about the floor drops.
Yeah, floor drops was something that we wanted to do, to have something that is a little bit more scalable, that is able to help more artists to have their foot in the door on the blockchain. To have a collection that is tradable, fully customized with all the rarity traits, all the good things about a collectible music collection. Like a thing where you will always have some sort of tradability, collectability. People in the future will look for certain aspects of this release. Maybe there's a song that has a different version. Maybe there's a song that has a different artwork. And people will look for these things. That's the normal, that's the normal process of things that are unique. People will look for them if you stay relevant, of course. Like, if nobody cares about your music, then nobody will look for this stuff. But if you keep making music and you keep building your career, then eventually this stuff will become very valuable. So we want musicians to start on the right foot, because this is one of the things that I saw a lot of people do. They just go and release music without really knowing what's the point, because they think they can make some money on the blockchain, and so they just put something on the blockchain just so it's on the blockchain. They think that's gonna change things. But I think at that point you might as well release it on Bandcamp. If you're putting out something that where all the editions are the same, and there's no thought behind it, you just released it on a different platform without even thinking about why you're doing it, then I don't see it as very valuable, and you're probably wasting your time, and you're wasting some of your valuable assets, especially if you're minting stuff that is very valuable to you, like very special songs. You're putting them out on the blockchain, but without thought, and then they're there. They're there forever. You can't take them back once they're sold. If nobody bought them, you can always burn them or erase them. But as soon as somebody buys them, then they're there forever. So I would say, it's important to do it right, and that's the point of floor drops, because we do those drops for you. So you just have to come to us with a song and a cover art, and we'll make a drop for you. We'll make a collection, and it's maybe more scalable. It's not really scalable right now because we're spending so much time doing these things. But we like it. I think again, it's one of those things that we like to see. I want to see artists win, and not because I am, I don't know, some hippies, because I'm an artist as well. Like I want to, I want to win as well. I'm tired of seeing just unknown big companies win. That's kind of annoying to us. I mean, to everybody that on the street that you talk to is like, what the hell? Why can't we get a win? And so that's the point of floor drops. I want to see these artists that are really cool. They have really good music. I want to see them with something that works. And so that's what we're doing. We're creating this little product for them that hopefully will be valuable in the future for them. And so it's kind of like a small start of their career. Then from there, that could be like a rock where they build their church upon. And, they can keep going from there, and they don't have to, continue doing stuff with us. But at least they have something to start with. And the whole process already teaches them a lot about how things work. And we try to help them to market these pieces of music, and we show them how to potentially reach collectors and how to present yourself in a way that makes sense to people that collect music like this. And yeah, so that's what floor drops are, and they are envisioned in a way that promotes support from your core group, because you have to buy at least 5. So it's kind of like selling them wholesale. So let's say you have a song, and you sell it in packs of 5, almost like if they're trading cards. And so probably the random collector is not going to buy 5. It's probably the people that really love your stuff, that really support you. And that's why it's difficult, but it's so important. It makes a difference, and we try to to show it to artists, although it's very hard, and they still struggle with this, like, why can't we sell just 1 or 2? They always say that, but then at the end of the process, they're so happy that they found this core group of people that keep supporting them, because they are deeply invested in your project, and they went through this with you to do this extra little step to buy 5 items from you. It's important, and so it creates a deeper relationship, and then from there the artist can go and find more people. So yeah, it's basically like a wholesale model. You find the people that are most close to you, that are really into your stuff, and then they can sell it to other people when you grow your audience. Let's say now you found 20 people, and then at the next release maybe you found 50, and now the people that supported you initially, they can actually maybe sell one of the editions that they bought. They bought 5, they have more, so they can benefit from it too. Maybe you don't make so much money from the first drop. It's not something that you make an insane amount of money, but you find your core group of supporters, which is so important. It makes the whole difference, really.
Yeah. One of the most incredible and wholesome experiences for me as an artist in the Web3 space is just seeing my fans make money from my work, which is mind-boggling, considering we come from an industry, a traditional industry, where there's no money at all on the recording side of music, at least, or barely any on the streaming model. And the fact that fans benefit in that way is very, very rare. I think Ed Sheeran, a fan of Ed Sheeran who bought one of his first CDs for like £5, ended up reselling that for 50 grand recently.
Wow.
It's just like a shitty CD burned from a laptop, which you can't even play anywhere anymore because, of course, no one has a CD player.
Yeah.
And
that's beautiful.
Right. Yeah. And NFTs offer that, especially in this increasingly digital age. Where do you see the space go, the NFT space going from here? And where do you see music fitting within that?
I see that, of course, more bigger corporations are coming, and that is a problem, for our little pirate operation. So we need to be able to handle that with care. Like we have to. Again, what I was saying before, like we don't want to disrupt, we don't want to scare these corporations away, because they still control a lot of the music industry, and we can't pretend to like to have enough power to disrupt them. We just don't. But if we are able to actually negotiate with them in a way that it's beneficial for everybody, then we can create a better future for musicians. And we are in a good position right now, because we are in a position where we have a little bit more power in this world, in this new internet. We are creating a situation in which we have some negotiation power, and we have to be careful on how we use that, because really we have to now educate as much as possible. And that's why when we educate artists, we teach them how to educate their audience. Otherwise it's pointless. That's how it starts. You have to spread the education as much as possible. So if everybody is educated into this new paradigm where we value art for what it is, we value music and as a digital asset, then we will see these corporations come in, but we hopefully can talk with them and make sure that we get a decent slice of the pie. I'm not sure how the music industry got so screwed up. I'm not an economist. I don't know, but right now it definitely doesn't work. There's way too much offering. There's just too much music, and people are willing to do anything to make it. There's a lot of you hear a lot of stories of people taking a deal with the record label where they didn't make any money and the record label made all the money. That's not cool. And but just because they wanted to be famous, everybody wants to be famous, and so they would take any kind of shitty deal just to achieve some small amount of fame. And we don't want to do that. We want to keep the power in our hands again a little bit. And I see a future where the big corporations are going to come in, and they're going to try to do things like we do. They're going to try to sell their whole catalog as NFTs. And we have to be careful. We have to vote also with our wallets. That's one thing that we can do here in the blockchain. Everything is transparent. So if theoretically, I mean, this is not perfect, but if the big corporation comes in with a bunch of fake wallets to buy their own supply to make it look like it's going well, theoretically you can see it. Again, it's not perfect, and I don't even know. I'm not the guy to talk about this stuff because I don't know all the technicalities of it. But there will be some more inspection now into how money moves around, and so I think I see the problem with this future is that a lot of people don't want to educate themselves. It's difficult. It takes time and effort. So we have to do it little by little, and it's in our hands to do that. And I think it's clear that everything will be on the blockchain, on some blockchain. I'm not saying that it will be on this blockchain or this other blockchain, but it's just better. It's just, I don't know. It's almost like saying letters will be digital. Of course, like right now it seems very normal. Like why not? Like, of course,
why not?
Send an email. That's to me, that's how it looks. Like I don't have any doubt. I don't know. Like I can't even understand anymore why people had doubts. Like you see it with emails. Like people did have a lot of doubts. Why the hell would people send an email when they could send a letter? This is an argument that people had. And now, of course, it seems extremely normal. So it might take a few years. It might take 4 or 5 years, but we will get to a place where everything is digital and things are unique and secured by the blockchain. Because the beauty about the blockchain is that you can't hack it. You can't fake transactions. That's the whole point. If the blockchain is secure, the blockchain that you chose is secure, then everything is secure. And so you have a lot of the benefits of having something that is digitally secure and you don't have to worry about whether the company is screwing you or not. You can check. You just go check on the blockchain, check every transaction. So yeah, I think that all the things that can be digital will be digital, like music and digital art. Everything that can be sold as a thing on the internet will be sold as an NFT. And we are not going to be talking about NFTs anymore. When we reach that point, when we just call it making music, then that means that, okay, that the blockchain has entered mainstream. Like right now, you don't even say, I don't know, I'm sending a digital letter. You just say I'm sending an email. That's normal. Like you don't even know how the hell the email gets to the other person. And most people don't care. But it happens. And so that's probably how it's going to be. Most people are not even going to know that this music that they're buying is on the blockchain, but it is. And then it comes with those benefits. And the people that want to know,
Yeah.
they can, and they will go investigate, and they will find out why this is so cool. And they might even benefit from that. If they do their research, they might start to maybe buy music as a collector, and they might pass down their collection to their children, which is something very cool. I can't wait for a time when people actually go on the hunt for weird music, and they just sit on it. Like I'm just gonna buy this because I know this is so cool, and maybe they start a whole, like the blog era when blogs were so important to promote music. Maybe there's going to be a whole new era like that of curators. That I'm really looking forward to that. All the weird music that is going to pop up.
Yeah, I think one of the best things for me when I started working with you guys in my first steps in Web3, it's just like I remember vividly, like I was like, well, Milo, what music should I put out? What's the right song? And you're like, whatever you like. Like and for me, that was just so shocking because in the Web2 music scene, like you got to be super crafty about what kind of music you release, and some need to be more commercial than others. You got to think about the single, which one you push to radio, all that shit. And this was the first time I was like, wow, I can literally release the songs that I want and not overthink it, and I can just literally do what I love. And you were like, people will embrace it, and I was like, no, they fucking won't. But they did, and that just blew my mind. And I remember my first music NFTs were literally just basically demos for my home studio with very limited gear, and that gave me, well, people were buying my music. I remember, I think my first drop, which was just like five editions of Citizen of the World, where that was the equivalent of like 250,000 Spotify streams, and that just completely blew my mind. But that's the thing, like this is the first time where I felt free as an artist, as a creative, and it was fun to make music again. It was fun to release music again, and I hadn't experienced that in a really long time, especially in the pandemic, following a Spotify model where I had no connection with my fans anymore because there was no live music at the time.
That was the same for me. It's beautiful. So refreshing.
Right.
Like it's it's sad. That's how it was. But yeah, it's amazing when you as an artist, when you feel that, like you don't want to go back. It's like you got out of the cave, like the whatever Plato, like you see like, I can do this. That's awesome, because you feel like a child. I felt like a child, like, I can just make the music that I want, and I don't have to worry. Of course, this might go away when saturation inevitably happens also in Web3, but right now, probably still for a few years, it's so refreshing, and that is one of the most important things probably. And to me, that is deeply important, because I really love
100%.
music that feels genuine, that feels true. And I think everyone on the planet wants that again. They just want this connection, because all the music now, it just sounds so the same. It's like nobody cares about music anymore. It's just some
Yeah.
sort of like just part of the environment. But when you make them feel something again is special also to a lot of, I'm sure, to a lot of your collectors, to collect that, that raw recording is something that maybe they couldn't find anywhere, because everybody wants to put out music that is so, produced and overproduced, and it's so rare to find something so pure. And so I'm sure that's one of the reasons why they loved it so much. And then they're on the journey with you, because also they feel such a personal connection. This is not just some random artist, and there's a real connection right there. I can hear it in his voice. I can hear the studio is recording in the room, and that's nice.
Yeah, and that gave me investment to reinvest in my studio and really build up my quality of my own recordings. What do you think are the biggest challenges for Web3 music right now? How do we overcome them? And you mentioned education earlier. How do we educate people better?
That's tough. I mean, we do our part. So I would say, if you're an artist, come to the Nifty Music Academy. We'll gladly have you. In general, I think if you don't enroll into an education program, then I would say just try it for yourself, and then see what it does for you. And then if it does something good, then you talk about it with your friends, and you don't have to, don't try to convince anybody that the blockchain is the way if you didn't do it for yourself, if you didn't have some sort of a revelation that, because otherwise you just do a disservice also to everybody who's trying to do something good with this. Because there is a bit of proselytism. There might be some, there are also some big forces at play. There are some people that also have a lot of crypto somewhere, and they want to push their own blockchain or whatever. And yeah, don't be one of those people. Like, just make sure that the blockchain does something good for you. That is one of the biggest problems that we had last year or the year before. Is just there was a lot of bullshit, to be honest. Just a lot of things that people would say, oh, the blockchain is better because of this and that, but they didn't even stop for a second to challenge those notions within themselves. They just spew things that they heard from other people say, and then as soon as they talk about it with somebody that is not on the blockchain, everything would crumble. Like there was a whole castle built on sand. It's like, what are you talking about? This doesn't make any sense. So don't be one of those people. And anybody coming in right now, I would say just make sure that you try, and make sure that you talk about the things that really are different for you. Because if all you're doing is putting your stuff out on a different Bandcamp, then just do it on Bandcamp. Like, you don't need, if all you're using the blockchain for is a different Patreon, then use Patreon. Use the things that are very unique to the blockchain. That's what we need. We need to talk about the things that are real, and not about all the other bullshit that we hear influencers talk about, because maybe they have some other agendas, So that's kind of a challenge. It takes time, and it takes a lot of people that are, self-aware, and they are not following the influencers. That's very difficult. So that takes time to get enough people to that state of mind where they are secure in their notions. It takes a long time, and of course, as I said, we do our part. We try to educate as many people as possible. And when we teach, we really give them the straight dope. No frills, no bullshit. Just what really is good, and why we're doing here. What the hell are we doing here on the blockchain? Why are you here right now? That's our first thing. We even ask you that before you enroll. Like, we give you a questionnaire, and we ask you, why are you here? What do you want with the blockchain? What can't you do in Web2? That's very important to us. And so yeah, I would say that's the challenge that we are overcoming right now. And I hope that more education programs pop up, like the Nifty Music Academy, and little by little we get more people, self-aware and not following the trends and the influencers.
Yeah, I can advocate to that as well from working with you as well. And that's partly why I'm doing this podcast as well. GM Good Music as a means of a palatable way of educating up and coming artists as well, or music fans too, because it's like this is the first time in history where you can digitally grow a community which benefits fans and artists, and it's not about being famous anymore. It's about having 1,000 true fans and the opportunity of making not just the music industry but the world a lot more decentralized, so it's a lot more balanced, and hopefully it'll stay that way. I guess we'll see, especially when these big players come in like you mentioned. Can we just delve into why? I mean, I know the answer, but why would you say Nifty Music? What's unique about Nifty Music over a lot of music platforms that are emerging at the moment, even though it's still super early? What's especially special about Nifty Music?
Well, I don't know. Probably that I am not a founder. You know, like you will see a lot of these companies. The founder
You're
often
founder,
is
you're founder of Nifty Music.
Yeah, but I wasn't before. Like I founded Nifty Music because I needed it. You know, like so like you will see a lot of these other founders. They come from doing that. Like they just do it as a thing. They start a company and then they sell it and then they start another company. It's like serial entrepreneurs, which is great. You know, great for them. You know, amazing. But maybe it's not the best for what we want to achieve here. I mean, I'm a musician. I've always been a musician. So
Yeah.
the way that I see it is I want to do things in a way that serve me as a musician in the best way possible. Because I don't want to stop being a musician. I don't want to be just, you know, the founder and the guy that is behind the business. That's boring as hell to me. I want to be able to have a company where I can release my music in a way that actually makes the most sense possible, that makes me the most amount of money possible, and, you know, that finds me the best audience possible. That's what I want. So that's probably one of the differences. And like if you're putting your music into any platform, I would say have a look at who is running this platform. Are they serial entrepreneurs? Then maybe they have another agenda. Maybe not, but, you know, just kind of think twice about who you're working with. That's all. And that's probably what makes us different. And maybe that's also why we didn't raise money. I mean, we might raise money next year. I think at this point we do need actually to find a good partner. But yeah, that's probably what makes us different. We're just musicians.
Yeah.
We do it because we need it.
No, exactly. Yeah, I think in short, what's really special about Nifty Music, it's run by artists, and so you have the best understanding of what it's like to be a musician, how so you kind of handhold a little bit more than the other platforms, but you give a lot of freedom as well, which is really special. I'd say that's what's unique about Nifty Music, and I don't know any other
beautiful
music platform that does that in the same way.
Yeah, amazing.
So next time, answer with that. Next time you get asked that. What's so let's come to a close. It's been an amazing discussion. So so you're accepting people into your education program now. Where can people reach out and contact you guys and learn about Nifty Music?
My DMs are open on Twitter, so you can always just, you know, DM me there. I actually check. X, yeah, DM me on X. Yeah, so you can start from there. And then, of course, our website, niftymusic.academy. We have a lot of info. My X profile is just at Nifty Sax. But yeah, niftymusic.academy, that's where you find a lot of information about our course and what we did, also who we worked with, like with you. We have links to your collection so people can check that we actually have been doing this for a while. We're not just some random crypto scammer. We work with real people, and we are real people. We're all like, you can see my profile, you can Google me and you find me. So yeah, start from there. And on the website you can apply to the Nifty Music Academy. And actually, I just thought about, before we were talking about how many Spotify streams you would have needed to make that amount of money. Yesterday, I made a little calculator. You can go to niftymusic.academy/calculator and just put an amount of ETH. Yeah. I'll send you the link later. It's kind of fun. It's all automated with the actual price of ETH. It should work. Theoretically, it should work. You can start from there even, because that's fun. Just to see how little money you need to make, to generate, like, let's say you sold, I don't know, a couple of NFTs and you made like 0.05 ETH or 0.1. It's an insane amount of streams already that normally most people don't get unless you get like a hit. So that's already fascinating. And I think that could already start the curiosity, at least. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
I looked at this recently. The total volume of love letters, which I released with you guys, it now amounts into like the 50 million Spotify streams. Isn't that ridiculous?
Let's go. Yeah, that's insane. And most people will never see that kind of popularity. And that's why it's important that artists like you talk about this, because you can do this if you inform yourself. You can do this too. And it's mind-blowing. And you don't need to be famous. That's the biggest takeaway probably from this. Like, you don't need to be famous, because also not everybody wants to be famous. Maybe their kind of music is not suited for that. What you need is an audience for what you do, and an audience that pays you fairly for what you do. That's all. And yeah, that's what we're doing here, and it's beautiful.
And what's happening Nifty Sax wise coming up? Are you planning any drops at the moment? Are you more in like creative mode? What's going on? What have you got coming up? And where can people find your work as well?
My work, you can always start from my X profile, just Nifty Sax, and of course my website, either milolombardi.com or niftysax.com. So if you want my previous work, niftysax.com, there's most of my stuff that is on the blockchain is there. And I am planning some new releases. I am figuring out some things right now. Like there's a few things that I am in the process of creating and recording. One is another collection with a saxophone that is kind of like Spheres was, just purely instrumental, and just me, and creating this sort of like meditative atmosphere. And then there's also some songs that I'm working on, and also with Fifi, with my wife.
You're married now, of course.
Yeah.
You and Fifi, you're married now. Completely forgot. Yeah.
Yeah, we are.
And you met on Spaces?
Yeah, we did.
And you met on Twitter Spaces?
That's pretty crazy. Yeah.
What a DJ.
I was doing a space,
true DJs.
called a Space for Introverts, and that was every single day. It was a space for people that normally don't feel like talking to talk. Like me, I am an introvert, and I don't, I find it very hard to go up to a space and just start talking, especially if people don't address me directly. I hate those spaces when there are like 10 speakers, and then the host, like, anybody wants to answer that? Like, no, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna answer that if you don't ask me a direct question. So my goal of the space was ask every single person that comes to the space a direct question. Like, I wanted to hear from you, so people knew it was a safe place. They could come there, and they didn't have to fight for attention. They would get their slot. And that's how I met Fifi. That's how I met Violetta. Most people. I was just doing the space every single day, And yeah, like of course it started from there with Fifi, and then we exchanged numbers, and we there was a we started
Wow.
talking all the time, and then we did a project together, a musical project, and then we met in real life to record some stuff for this project, and yeah, sparks were flying. It happened pretty quick, but you know,
Beautiful.
when it's right, it's right.
Yeah, wow. Wow. Total degens. Married a fellow degen. Love it. And so are
Yeah.
those spaces going to come back sometime?
The space for introverts? Maybe. It was very difficult to keep up. At some point, I
Sure.
just
It's very intense.
I had so many things to take care of, and for me as an introvert, that was very taxing. Like I was really every day, before and after, I would think about it, and so that would remove a lot of hours from the day, like probably like something like 6 or 7 hours. And so that's completely unsustainable, because even if the space is only 2 or 3 hours, there will be at least an hour and a half or two before and after that I would need to kind of like, after I would need to decompress, and before I would need to kind of like get in the mental space. So
Yeah.
that was not sustainable for me. But yeah, we're still doing spaces every Tuesday, and as soon as we grow a little bit, especially if we raise some money for next year, then we will probably hire someone to do the spaces, because it is important to be out there, you know, spread the word of what we're doing, and you know, make sure that at least the little that we know, we share that with confidence, and we know at least there's one space where we don't where people don't say bullshit. You know, we talk about what's real. That's very important to me, as I was saying before. So yeah, we will keep on doing it in different different levels of commitment. But
Last question, or one of the last questions. I think what's one thing that's amazing about the Web3 space is the potential for collaboration. And you've done quite a few, Milo. What's been your favorite collaboration so far? Not just in the Web3 space, but generally. And when collaboration with Wazy himself?
oh well, actually, we had something that we were working on. I don't know what happened to that. I recorded some saxophone for a track that he
Wazy
was
being
working
your
on.
co-founder,
Yeah,
just for people who don't know.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, of course, I'm not gonna say what's my favorite collaboration, but if any, maybe the one that I did with my wife. Like there was our album called Harmony.
Well, you have to pick
That
her.
was yeah. Oh, that was quite beautiful. We want to keep doing something like that. Actually, this is one of the things that we were planning for this winter. There's a lot of stuff that I need to record now. Winter is always a great time for me to just get in the studio and
Yes.
just do a bunch of work like
Hibernation
that.
time.
I'm sure for you the same. Living in Berlin, what else are you gonna do?
Right.
So
escape.
so yeah,
or,
that
or
was
stay in the studio. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so yeah, that was my favorite collaboration. But now since last year, since the bear market, so things are a little bit more chill now on the blockchain. There's not so much running to do, because you know, when the bull market happens, there's so much stuff that needs to be done quickly. Otherwise, you miss the boat, and so you have to run, and you have to kind of leave some things behind. That's what I did. Now I'm taking back some time also for projects that are making me feel better about myself also. So I want to play more jazz. So I had some concerts lately with some really incredible players, and I really like that. I need to keep doing that to feel good, and so I am now taking the steps to get back into that world as well, collaborating with some really amazing artists here in Italy, and yeah, practicing a lot for that. Yeah, those are my favorite collaborations in this term, when it really gives me a push to get better, because that really, I think that's probably the key to staying healthy and young, like making sure that you have a project that actually engages you and make and some a project that is difficult, project that you actually have to really rearrange your brain for. That's very important to me. I missed that last year. As I said, in 2021, we were so busy running after things that I left some things behind. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to those collaborations next year. I have some really nice ones lined up, and I'm looking to get more as well.
No, I definitely agree with that. I'm actually really enjoying this bear market, aka build market, because when we were doing the love letters and the campaign in the lead up to it, like 16 hours a day on Twitter Spaces, and wasn't able to create anything. I couldn't even listen to music. I had so much ear fatigue from being on Spaces as well. So definitely getting back into the creative side and enjoying this as much as possible, and creating this podcast, which is really awesome. Having said that, mate, Milo, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for sharing your alpha with everything you're doing with Nifty Sax and Nifty Music. One last time, can you just tell us where people can find you to either collaborate with you, check out your music, and to be a part of Nifty Music?
Yeah, well, thank you so much. First of all, this was awesome. I'm really happy that we got to do this. You can find me at x.com/Nifty Sax, or just Google Milo Lombardi. That's my name. You can find my websites, or Google Nifty Sax. You find me also like that. So x.com/Nifty Sax, milolombardi.com, or niftysax.com, or niftymusic.academy. That's our, the Nifty Music's website, where you find all the info about how to join our course. And I'm going to send you that link for the calculator of Spotify streams. That one is niftymusic.academy/calculator. That one is fun as well.
Fantastic. All right, Milo, well, thank you so much. We've been GM Good Music. A big thank you once again for being here, and to everyone else, GN, and we'll see you on the next episode.